Welcome to our next episode of In the Weeds, and today we're going to take a look at Metribuzin and why we would actually like to use Metribuzin in soybeans, as well as talk about choosing a soybean variety that has good tolerance to Metribuzin. How do we go about doing that? As we begin today, I'd like to take a look at some Metribuzin products. I have two straight Metribuzin products here to my left, that being Metribuzin 75DF, which is a dry material that's produced by Adama. And then I have Tricor 4F, which is a liquid version of Metribuzin, and this is produced by UPL. Generally, when we're looking at applying Metribuzin, we want to use it in combination with another herbicide. All of our research over the past several years has shown when we use Metribuzin in combination with another herbicide, we see a very consistent level of pigweed control. And I'm talking about pigweeds populations that have a wide assortment of resistance. Resistance to things like, again, the dinitroanilin herbicides, Pryltreflan, the ALS chemistry, Scepter, Pursuit, a lot of the ALS chemistry that we typically think of. Classic would be another example. The PPO herbicides that we have, we see resistance of them pre-emergence, we see resistance post-emergence, and then of course we've got glyphosate resistance, as well as some metolachlor and acetochlor resistance, things like dual or the warrant type products. And for that reason, most growers are actually going to purchase and apply a premix of a Metribuzin product in combination with some other active. And a good example of one would be the product Boundary. Boundary is a combination of Metribuzin plus metolachlor. To the left of that, I have Fierce MTZ, which is a valent product. I have Trypsin, which is pendimethalin or Pryl plus Metribuzin. That's a UPL product. And then I have Moccasin MTZ. Moccasin MTZ is a lot like Boundary. That's a UPL product that combines metolachlor plus Metribuzin. Some other products that I don't have listed here but would also contain Metribuzin would include things like Canopy. Canopy herbicide has Metribuzin in it plus chlorimuron, and there's a wide assortment of other herbicides out there. Trivents would be another one produced by Corteva today. So really what we have found in our research is applying a combination of Metribuzin plus another active has been very effective in terms of controlling pigweed. Now with that, the question becomes, how do I go about choosing a variety of soybean that has tolerance to Metribuzin? Many of you before probably have used some Metribuzin at some point, and if you have not chosen a tolerant variety, you can see severe damage from Metribuzin. But today there's been a lot of emphasis from the breeding standpoint, from the industry standpoint, to select for Metribuzin tolerant soybean varieties. And here in the Mid-South, we have a wide assortment of germplasm that's available to you, the grower, that you can select for and effectively use Metribuzin within your weed control programs in soybean. Come along and let's take a look at some of those varieties and how we go about selecting and providing information to you, the grower. I'm standing in the greenhouse complex at the Alzheimer Laboratory located in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And what we're doing with these soybeans that are here in front of me is we're looking at the tolerance of these, or screening for the tolerance to Metribuzin. We planted these soybean varieties. There's about 250 that were in the Arkansas OVT program, and they're planted in individual rows, and we have about four replications of these on this table. And after we make the application, we come back at 14, 21, and 28 days, and we will evaluate the tolerance of each soybean line or variety to Metribuzin herbicide. And we'll evaluate that on a 0 to 10 scale, with 0 being completely tolerant and 10 being ultimately death of the soybean variety. So what do we do with that information? We'll then summarize that information across our replications. We'll look at this by variety. We'll place that information then on the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture website, where you, the grower, then have access to approximately 250 varieties each year that you can go in and look at and make an informed decision when you're selecting Metribuzin for your weed control program, you can match a soybean variety that has good tolerance to that herbicide, and in doing so, you will have a very effective weed control program for the control of palmer amaranth, and the soybean will be extremely tolerant. Within this tray, we have 4 varieties that are planted, and with that, again, we're evaluating the tolerance to Metribuzin. I just wanted to illustrate what a tolerant variety looks like and what one looks like that has some sensitivity to the Metribuzin herbicide. On the left, we see 2 varieties with very good tolerance, absolutely no response to the herbicide, whereas the one here in the center, or the third row of soybeans, we can begin to see some strong symptomology, and we're only 12 days after planting, and this is going to worsen rather than get better over time, and we can begin to see some of the classical PS2 symptomology within this soybean plant. Here on the unifoliate leaves, we can begin to see the Metribuzin damage to this soybean variety. And the one to the right here has some Metribuzin sensitivity to it, but overall it's a more tolerant variety than the third row. The fourth row has better tolerance than the third row, and again, rows 1 and 2 have excellent tolerance to the herbicide. So with that, that's how we'll go through, and we will assess sensitivity, and again, report that back to you, the grower, and make a recommendation as to which varieties to plant and which varieties not to plant if you're looking at using Metribuzin in your weed control program. In summary today, when we're going to use Metribuzin for weed control in soybeans, we do need to consider the soil pH and make sure that we're on a 7 or lower pH if we're going to use Metribuzin, which we highly recommend, in combination with some other actives. And then secondly, make sure that we choose a Metribuzin tolerant variety. We've gone through today how we go about doing that. As we close, we'd like to say thank you to the Arkansas Soybean Promotion Board for funding the research that you see here and the information that's made available to you, the grower. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the next episode of In the Weeds.